So Steve over here, he came back all the way from, where were you coming from this last? I know you came over the pass.
Yeah, I came from Salt Lake.
Okay, so but before that, where were you coming from?
Technically I live in Texas, but I travel all the time.
All the time.
Last week I was in Boise and Idaho Falls for some
Yeah.
real estate stuff.
He's just everywhere, which is, very cool. So he's the chief investment officer over at Home Investment Smart Real Estate Investing. We're super lucky to have him. I'm not paying you to come here, right? Although we do have a nice bottle of wine for you. Do you drink wine? Okay,
Sure.
Perfect. Oh, you look sure.
I'll take it.
Oh, not yet. So Steve's love of real estate investing started in 2002 when he read Rich Dad Poor Dad. How many have read that? Love that book. And him and his partner currently have 3,800 doors under management, right? And they've wholesaled 2,500. So they've got experience in multiple facets of real estate investing. They in fact taught a class about wholesale during the COVID epidemic, and they had to shut that down because their other side of their business was so busy. So we have a plethora of knowledge coming our way. I'm going to let you continue your introduction as to what you're going to cover and get started. I'm going to get your presentation up while we're doing that.
Cool. Guys, I'm pretty low-key and easygoing. If you have questions or anything throughout this, I like to make it really conversational. If you want to take a picture of this, that's our ending slide as well. If you want to connect with me on Instagram, I do a daily quote. I love quotes. I love to be motivated. I love to take action. If you want to connect with me there, that's personal. If you want anything to do with business, that is my personal cell phone. I check my text in the morning and at night. You can email me. I check my email like once a week. I have an assistant who handles all that. I wanted to share, we're going to talk about off-market deals. I know Alex does wholesale. I know you guys are interested in wholesale. If you're doing buy and holds, the best way that you can find a good property is an off-market deal. Nothing against realtors. I think realtors are great when you're selling, but you always want to find off-market. So I'm going to share with you some of our off-market strategies, the history of HomeInvest, just so you guys know how I got here. I started investing. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You'll hear some of my story tonight, but I'll go through it in the slides. Nate and I started working together. After the crash in 2009, I went into public speaking. I wanted to be up on stages. I wanted to build live events. I started building live events. We did more than $50 million in sales between 2012 and 2018. More and more of my clients were in the real estate space. Nate, my now partner at HomeInvest, we did about 30 events together. And he said, okay, I want you to come on our team. So we're now a partnership. I have equity in HomeInvest. And we had two sides to the business, technically three. We had wholesale, we had multifamily, and then we trained people how to do this. He started training in 2020. I came on board in 2021. We've taught more than 1,000 people how to do wholesale. We've done more than 2,500 doors. I just say all of that. We shut down wholesale and education in January to focus on multifamily. Last year, we brought 38 million in. We have about 70 million right now under management. So that's how we got the 3,800 under management. We shut down wholesale, but I'm still going to teach it to you because it's really powerful. So let's start with, who believes in changing the world? Who in here has a why better than money? Anyone? A few people. I like it. All right. So I'm driven up here because I love sharing people. I love sharing knowledge with people. I love helping people reach financial freedom. I do that a lot of different ways, not just through real estate. This is our nonprofit. So we have a nonprofit called Fishers of Men. I don't know if any of you guys are Christian. I have a pretty strong Christian walk. So twice a year, we take fatherless youth out on a boat. We try to get one mentor to 3 kids, and then we take them out on a boat and we just breathe into them. We do a boat trip once a year and we do a camping trip once a year. This is one of our big whys. You guys can't read that letter, but this kid right here sent us this letter afterwards, and he said, I recently caught my mom doing cocaine and I didn't know how to respond to that. He reached out to our captain Wally. Wally he had been in prison for drugs, and they ended up, he was his mentor on the boat. They ended up spending a lot of time together, and it changed the kid's life. He sent a letter saying thank you. So that's part of why we do this. We donate quite a bit. Social Media Blueprint is the program that I'm about to teach you guys. If you look us up, Social Media Blueprint is the program. HomeInvest is out. We have a 4.9 Trustpilot review rating. I put that up there because I want you guys to know that I care more about you getting results. I literally have nothing to sell you. If you came up to me after this and were like, I wanted to buy something, I can't sell you anything because we shut it down. I can't give it away to you for free though. Alex, I think you'll find, how many houses are you guys doing in a month?
10.
All right, what I'll share with you tonight should grow that. And I'm happy to share that. This is one of our clients. This is Matt. That is the best face in the world. Matt actually made $550,000 last year. He was going to get hit with a heavy tax burden. We helped him find this house using what I'm teaching you. He came to us in December 1st. He said, guys, I need help with my taxes. He's going to get hit with about $160,000 tax bill. Using what I'm sharing with you here tonight, we found this house. We bought it. We did a cost seg study on it, and he got $140,000 off his taxes. Does anyone in here want to save money on their taxes? All right. You guys can make some noise. This is Shannon. He's smiling really big. He was in a room actually like this that we did in Tampa, where we went and shared at an REI club. He went and took what I'm going to show you. He went and found the property that we're on literally a week later, called us up. Does anyone know Florida very well? This is Hollywood, Florida. It's north of Miami. 2 blocks off the beach. He found this lead. It is a main house and 4 smaller houses. They're not ADUs. It's actually like 4 smaller, like not mini houses, like actual houses. 2 blocks off the beach, appraised at 1.7. He got it through a off-market lead, and he got it under contract for 1.1 with seller financing. We are there signing the contract literally a week later. Okay, so how did I get here? I'm gonna go kind of fast. I started off as a bartender. Anyone in here wait tables ever? Few people. All right, cool. So I started off as a bartender. That's me in college. I got fired because I wasn't that great. I was an art major. You can imagine, art major waiting tables. I have more important things to do. I did read this book. What's your name?
Me.
Yeah.
Well, Frank.
Frank.
Yeah.
And you said you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yes.
So I read that the night I got fired, maybe the day after, like within a couple of days, and I was like, man, I want to do this. You can imagine how that worked. I went out, I started looking at houses. Immediately, the realtor looked at me looking like that and was like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know, I want to buy a house. He said, do you have proof of funds? I didn't know what proof of funds was. I said, well, I'm going to go down to the bank. He said, you don't have a job, you don't have any money in the bank, and you're a college kid living on campus. I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. He wouldn't show me any more houses. I then went to the bank to get proof of funds. They laughed me out the door. I kept at it though. I kept reading, I kept looking. I ended up moving off campus. And you can see this guy back here. This guy became my landlord. His name was Bob. And I started taking Bob to breakfast. He was in his mid-70s. And Bob, I lived in the place for about 4 months. And he finally looked at me and he said, well, why haven't you bought a place yet? You rented from me, you're talking to me about real estate. I said, well, I can't afford it. I can't figure it out. And he said, I'll sell you the building that you live in, owner financed. It's 8 units up. It was eight residential units, 2 commercial, and 12 storage units underneath in the basement. So I'll sell you the whole thing owner financed if you can go raise capital. I had no idea what that meant, but I knew how to talk to college professors. I went out and raised 20 grand. I purchased property for $200,000 owner finance. That's a picture of it right there. And I owned it from late 2001 until I sold it in 2006. I rented it to a bunch of college students. I cleaned up my act a little bit. Over the next 3 years, I ended up doing 53 deals for about 150 units. So that's my background in real estate. Last year, September, using what I'm going to show you here, we generated more than 500 leads. We had more than 100 conversations. We ended up doing 166 units. One of those was an apartment building that we found through off market, but the rest of them were single family duplexes and triplexes. Our biggest deal ever in a wholesale deal, Alex, you'll love this. We ended up with a condo pack in a super small town in Minnesota. The guy basically handed it to us. It was a probate deal. He didn't want to deal with it. We ended up making $294,000 in one day through wholesale. So where not to look for deals. No offense to realtors. You're not going to find these on Zillow. You're not going to find it on the MLS. You're not going to find it on any of those sites. You're going to find it. You guys are going to be shocked at this. Oh, I got one more slide. This is stuff you guys might have tried. Who in here has done bandit signs? I've done bandit signs. They used to work really well. They're less and less, and you can get in trouble, plus they're time consuming. Cold calling, driving for dollars, or yellow letters. Anyone in here done yellow letters? When I got back into this in 2014, I spent about $60,000 on yellow letters. I did get some response from it. Now my house in Texas, I get at least 2 a week. Market's getting crowded there. What I'm going to show you does have a little bit more room. You're going to be surprised. Killer off-market deals, that's what we call them, KOMDs. We get most of them from Facebook. I'm going to show you 3 different ways that we generate there. The first one, just go into real estate groups and post that you're looking for deals. I know that sounds crazy. Put a picture. If you can make people laugh, they will pay more attention to you. So we use memes. We literally just use memes. I should have some pictures in here. I didn't grab them. I made these slides this afternoon. We have like a Jim Carrey meme. Does anyone in here remember Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
Literally him on the scooter with his best friend, and it says, "I'm looking for something, a deal." That one performs the best. We also have one of a dog, funny looking dog, funny looking cats. Post in groups. So when I say post, we make 350 posts a week across 50 to 60 Facebook groups. That's a lot of posting. You will get a full email box. Use your personal, don't use a business account. I know people get scared about that. What will people think? If you use your, do you like it when you see a business account on Facebook that messages you? What do you think? They're trying to sell me something. Use your personal account and make it not a we buy ugly houses. Everyone knows what that is, right? Don't use that. Use it as a personal, hey, I'm looking for a house in this area. This is what I'm looking for. If you've got something, post down below. Yes, you will get other wholesalers. We have done a lot of deals where we're a second wholesaler in the deal, because what do you do when you're a wholesaler? What's the biggest value? The house and your buyers list, right? If you have a good buyers list, you can usually make money depending where the first wholesaler is at. Alex, do you ever work with other wholesalers?
Yeah, we do this well for some people.
Yeah, and it works out fine, right?
Yeah.
That's so I know you guys are new. Frank, I know you're in college. You can do this all day long in college. Do you need any money to get into wholesale? Zero. You go out maybe a couple $100, but you can do this. That's why wholesale is so powerful. So we join a lot of real estate groups. We go in and post. The next 2 that I'm going to share with you, though, you got this. The next 2 I'm going to share with you are things I didn't build slides for. They take some work, but they will get you really good deals. So who in here has a hobby? Anyone? Frank, what's your hobby?
Lately I've been picking up Magic. I have a deck of cards.
Okay, Magic the Gathering. We'll use Magic. Who else has a hobby? Somebody else give me a hobby.
I beat him at racquetball lately.
Racquetball. All right, good. Pickleball is a big one. Join a Facebook group that is local to your hobby. One, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to make friends in there. The first thing you want to do is make a welcome post in the group and ask a question that will get a lot of responses. So I'm a car guy. I have a Corvette that's outside. I will go in and make a post in a car group saying, what's your favorite sports car of the last 10 years? Or what's the best generation of Corvette? Something like that. You're going to get a million responses. Who said C5?
C5.
I had a C5, I've had a C6, and I have a C7 out there. You will get a lot of responses. Friend all of them. Now, nobody knows how the algorithm works for sure, but I can tell you we have tested this. When you friend those people, they will see your next post. You have about 8 to 12 hours. So go through and friend a whole bunch of people. Then you go and make a post on your personal page that says, hey, I'm looking to buy a house in this area. Does anyone know of anyone thinking of selling? When we do that, we get 4 to 5 responses really fast. Hey, my sister's brother-in-law's cousin is thinking about selling. This is an off-market lead. Ginger, this would work for realtors too. This is a way that you can get listings. If you do that once or twice a week, you'll get leads. Now, are you going to be able to do that just in Reno? You can do that in Reno for probably 2 or 3 months. Join a couple different hobby groups, make those posts. People will reach back out to you. And I say this with a big asterisk, don't make it super transitional. Like, don't make it all about like, oh, you don't have anything, I don't want to talk to you. Be active in the group. That's why I say do it in your hobby. Like, I will go into a car group and I'll have discussions all day. Even though I don't really love social media, it doesn't bother me to be in that group. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 more places that we find leads. How's the Airbnb market right now in Reno? Anyone in here have SDRs?
Yes, but
Not too great, right?
not too great, no.
So Austin,
Used to be.
where I live, in 2018, Austin had around 800 Airbnbs for the city. Right now they have about 3,000. Huge inventory, less people traveling equals what?
Vacancy.
Distressed sellers. These are people that bought during COVID. They were like, oh, everyone's going to start traveling. I've got this extra money I saved up. During COVID, we saw the most amount in American bank accounts that we had seen since the Depression. Everybody had all this money. I'm going to go over here and buy a house. Now I'm going to start doing like short-term rentals. Oh, I forgot about cleaning people. I forgot what a pain in the ass it is. Right? Then we go a little bit further. I was making money in 2021, right? Like maybe I was making $1,000 a month. Now they're losing $1,000 a month. So we literally go onto Airbnb. We have 5 profiles in the company, and we were sending 10 to 15 messages a day that just said, hey, I love your place. Would you ever think about selling it? 2 to 3 people would say, you know what, we've been talking about that. Those are great ways to start the conversation. That doesn't mean that they're going to sell it to you, but we do a lot of owner finance, we do lease option, like we have a lot of strategies to move properties. That's a good place, and it's a good solid lead. Now, what do you think the first question out of their mouth? If they say, yeah, we're thinking about selling that. What do you think the next question is? How much are you going to give me? Does anyone in here ever answer that question? Like you get somebody on the phone and they say, how much? What do you tell them? Good answer. Anyone else have a different one? We'll come back to this.
Do you want for it?
It's a good question. I want Zillow price. I'll come back. I love the script. We spent a lot of money developing a good script, and I'll share it with you guys. All right, so one other place that we find leads, this one takes some work as well, but it is a phenomenal deal. Who in here has a big heart and likes to help people? All right, good. This one's for you because it takes work and it will break your heart, but you will be immensely rewarded. So people, when they're getting towards the end of life and they're either going into long-term care or they pass away, what happens to that house? Probate, estate sale. So how can you step in and be of help in that? This is where I'm saying it will take work. We have a lady in Atlanta that does 5 houses a month with what I'm about to share with you. She has a end of life transition. She built a Facebook group for end of life transition. And she has lawyers. She has long-term care people that help. She has nurses. Her whole thing is lead with caring for the family. If the parent is still alive, how do we help them transition into healthcare? If the parent is not alive, how do we take care of the house? So has anyone in here gone through this with their parents? I went through this with my dad 2 years ago. I have 3 sisters. My dad passes away. My mom's got to move out of the house. My stepmom has to move out of the house. We've got a house full of junk. Does anyone in here's parents collect a lot of things in their house? Right? It's okay. I collect a lot too. I get it. There's a lot of stuff in the house. She will go in with a video with her phone and she'll video the house. She'll send it to all the brothers and sisters. What do you want out of the house? She'll pack it and send it to them. She'll take care of the house. Then she'll call 1-800-JUNK. She'll clean the house up. All on her dime. After the wholesale agreement is signed. She leads with, how can I help you guys? And she has a heart of gold. Her name's Tammy. She has a heart of gold. She wants to help the people first. What happened is she started doing this coming out of COVID. She gets more referrals of people saying, because there's literally no, like, what are you going to do? You're going to go on Google and you're going to type, how do I handle this? Who handles this? None of the kids want to handle it because it's painful, right? I don't want to go into mom and dad's house. I don't even know where to start with that stuff. Tammy will do that. Tammy takes that on. She's retired. She's in her mid to late 60s, I think she's 68. She'll go in with her phone, take a whole bunch of video. She'll take time to do that. She now has an assistant to help with it. But if you're willing to do that, it is a gold mine of places to find houses because those people don't, and they don't care. So I'll finish this part of the presentation with the story. So she went in to a house. She came up with her price. The people agreed. She signed a contract and she thought of one buyer on her buyer list who would want that, an investor. She called him and he said, oh yeah, I know the place. He was like, and she said, how do you know the place? And he said, well, I came out 2 weeks ago and I made an offer on it. The offer I just made you. The offer he made Tammy was, I believe, $48,000 more than what Tammy had the place under contract for. She went back to the seller and said, what's going on? What don't I know? And the seller said, we didn't like him because he was transactional. We don't care about the money. We care about being taken care of. You were willing to go in with a camera. You were willing to make us feel good. You put us in touch with 3 people who could help us. Tammy led with her heart. So those are 2 really good places to find leads that I promise you, if you work them, you will get leads. This is not an overnight success. If you're in real estate expecting to do $1 million next week, you're in the wrong place. A lot of you guys have been successful. Was it overnight? You notice all of them are shaking their head. I know that we got some new people in here. Real estate tends to attract people who are like, I'm gonna make a whole bunch of money. It took me 8 months and I was really lucky to get my first deal. I also hustled really, really hard. Real estate is a great place to make money, but it's not an overnight success. All right, so what happens after you find the leads? We talked a little bit about scripting. I'm going to tell you guys this story. This was a wholesale deal. The guy's name was Kong. Nate did this. If you guys reach out to me, I have the recording of this because Nate recorded it. You'll understand why in a second. So Kong was from Vietnam. And Nate took the call. We generated this through a post on Facebook. Nate took the call and Kong immediately said, will you pay me Zillow price? Will you pay me Zillow price? I can't do a very good accent. And Nate, instead of saying, I don't know, we'll see, he gave you, this is the script that he developed and it does 3 key things. Nate said, you know, I've never met you. I don't know you from anybody. I also haven't seen the house. I would love to take care of you, but without seeing the house, I can't give you an honest answer. I want to give you, I'm not like everybody. What he just did was differentiate himself from everybody else. Because how do most people take that? They say 1 of 2 things. They either throw out a lowball number, or they say it depends, or they say, you know, I'm an investor. I need to make sure that I get a good deal if you're willing to move on the price. Sure, that frames you well, but you're not going to get very far. You're not going to get in the door unless they're really distressed. So instead, Nate said, you know, I'm not like everybody else out there. The number that I give you when I give it to you is something you can take to the bank. But I would really have to come look at the property. What time tomorrow would work for you? So Nate goes to the house. Kong is standing out front with his arms crossed, wouldn't even shake Nate's hand. Nate took the time it was 43 minutes. We have the recording of it. Nate records everything. Nate walked around, got to know his situation, and he asked the hard questions. Why aren't you listing it with the realtor? Tom said, well, I had 3 different realtors come and look at it. They all want me to paint the place. They all want me to fix some of the spouting. And I don't have time or money for that. Said, well, why don't you rent it? And he said, I'm moving out of state. I have to move out of state in the next 3 weeks. I've gotten fired here. I have a new job there. What do we know so far? He's not gonna list it with the realtor. He doesn't want to rent it. So then Nate said, well, why do you want Zillow price? I said, well, that will give me enough money to pay off my mortgage and give me $7,000 to move. What do we know now?
For $7,000.
So what's the offer? How do you make that offer?
It's up to you.
Exactly. So Nate said, okay, you need $7,000 to move. If I got you $7,000, you can, if you guys want the call, reach out, I'll send you the call. Nate said, if I give you $7,000, you're telling me you would move? And Tom said, yeah, I think that would work out. How are we going to take care of the title? How are we going to take care of the mortgage? And Nate said, we're going to fill out a subject to. I have it right here with me. It will be all legal. We'll do what's called wraparound mortgage. He explains the whole thing to him, walked him through it. And Nate actually ended up buying a motorcycle that was in the garage for an additional $2,000, flipped the motorcycle. You'll hear it in the call. It's kind of fun. But Kong ended up shaking his hand. Fast forward, we got this house. The mortgage on it was 100, I believe 141, and average comps were about 190. We owned that place for about 35 days. We were doing the work that he had done. So he cooked with a lot of curry. The place smelled like you might imagine. So we just kills everything. We fixed the spout. We had about 10 grand total in everything. Between that, the motorcycle paint, all of it was like 10, 12 grand. We were going to turn it into a rental. Does everybody know the 1% rule? Okay, so average rents in this neighborhood are $3,000. So we were going to do really well. We ended up having a realtor come to us. There was a single mom with 2 children who needed a place. She had cash and she was able to get a traditional mortgage on it. We got it all done. We sold it for 170. We sold it under market to take care of her. We paid off Kong. Kong still sends us people. I want you guys to pick up on this because I know our seasoned investors get this, but for newer investors, they're like, why would somebody walk away from that kind of equity? Why would they leave that money on the table? Kong didn't care. He didn't have a job, but he had a job out of state. He needed the money to get there. We called him and Nate called him and said, hey, why don't you log into your banking app and look at your mortgage? And so we did. And he was like, oh, you guys are great. He still sends us people. This was 3 years ago. We can't do anything with most of the people that he sends us, but I'm telling you that because I want you to understand how much it changes people's lives. Something that I deal with a lot is people are like, why would anyone do that?
So learning,
Mhm.
with the subject too, with the wraparound mortgage, that still leaves him on that mortgage, right?
Yep,
So if he wanted to like move and buy another place.
he wasn't buying.
Okay,
He didn't have good credit.
yeah,
He had trashed his credit.
all right,
But yeah, so there's 2 ways that you can do that. One, depending on the bank that you're working with, and there's a couple months time, he can show the income from this as basically a rental against his income. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but it can.
Okay.
If they're going to buy a new house, subject to does not always.
all right, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else got any questions? Okay, cool. I will keep rolling.
Okay, why didn't you keep it as a rental?
We were totally planning on it, and one of our realtors that we know came to us and said, hey, I have this mom with 2 kids who really needs a place in that neighborhood. And we looked at it and Nate said, okay, we're happy making we basically made about 25, 30K on it, which is a great day's work, right? This is our script. If you guys want this, text me, I'll send it to you. So there's about 6 pages to it. We walk through everything. We also have a recording of it. The place where everybody makes the mistake when they get a good lead is they immediately start talking price. That's what the seller wants. What you need to do is figure out what their situation is. Where are people? So I know it's really small. So it starts with at the very beginning. Anyone in here read How to Win Friends and Influence People? Awesome. What's the first thing you do when you meet somebody?
Children.
Show interest, compliment them. Simple compliment, right? Hey, what's going on? I really like your shoes. I really like your hair. I really like your energy.
But it has to be genuine, right? Yes.
Yeah. But that's not hard to do unless you're a complete jerk. You can find something you like about everybody, right? You should be able to find something. You can lead with how the weather is. That's a really simple one. It's not as good as a compliment. Most people though, when you call them, if they respond to a Facebook post, Alex, I don't know if you run into this. You have a call center, you have people on the phones, or are you taking the calls?
Yeah.
I mean, it can get very transactional because you're doing a lot of calls, but taking a moment to figure out where people are from, what they're doing, like, hey, how's life for you right now? Makes all the difference. Who in here's been married a long time? How long have you guys been married?
49 and change. She passed away a couple of years ago, but
49?
almost made 50.
Okay. How long?
23.
23? When you guys, I'm gonna ask a question, don't think I'm a jerk. If you guys get into an argument, is it better to say, hey, I hear your side of the story, I see you? Or what do we like to do, right? We like to say, you're wrong, I'm right. That puts us on opposite sides. Great communication is, hey, I totally understand. I want to be seen. We validate people, right? That's what this first part is. Validate somebody. Chances are, if they're calling you off of a Facebook post, they're a distressed seller. If you make them feel like a distressed seller, you're on opposite sides and you're going to butt heads, right? All I'm trying to do over there is make a friend. What's going on? How's your life? Compliment them. Then current situation. Why are you here? What else have you tried? Sometimes wholesalers are really scared to ask why you aren't listing with a realtor because they think, well, if I say that, they might go list it. They've thought about listing. There's a reason. And if you can have a common enemy, Ginger, sorry, from realtors, but if you can have a common enemy, which is usually the realtor or renters, then you're in the same boat together, which is the goal. So that's what's in here. And then where do you want to be? What do you really need? So this is Con in that house that I had up. Con kept going back to, I need Zillow price. I need Zillow price. Why do you need Zillow price? And honestly, Zillow price was way more than $7,000. I don't know why he had that in there. But in his head, but then as soon as we got him talking, it came to $7,000. So once you have that, then you can go down. This is the other key thing for wholesalers. I know you guys are new, so you want to make a note of this. Once you have a general price, talk them through what it's going to look like to work with you. So, hey, this is step one. We're going to sign this right now. Technically, this is a legal agreement, but if you wanted to, it'd be really hard for us to hold each other to it. So these are the next steps. If you're going to have somebody look at the house, tell them that. When you're right there making the deal. Because if you don't, Alex, I'm sure you learned this, right? Like you send somebody to the house 3 days later that they're not expecting, what happens? And it's real easy for them to just rip up that contract and you just lost whatever your wholesale would be. So if you set them up, this is clear expectations. Hey, this is what the next couple of days are going to look like. I've got 21 days to execute this contract. We're going to do some research. We're going to be sending some people over to talk to you. I'll call you first if you don't want to go back with them. But you need to set this up really clearly. Then you want to make sure they understood it. Have them repeat it back to you. If you want, you can have something printed out that you give to them. But you want it to be really, really clear. Then the next piece, then you go into actual commitments. This is what it's going to look like. This is when you're going to get paid. Same thing, set very clear expectations, shake their hand, leave, call them the next day. Because what happens that night? What do you think happens?
Buyer's remorse,
Yeah.
seller's remorse, actually.
What else happens? You're correct, but what's the actual process? If I own 123 North Main Street, I go talk to 1234 North Main Street. Yeah. Oh, hey Joe, I'm selling the house. I'm so excited. What do you mean? Oh, you sold the house for You did what? You signed a contract? Somebody's not even paying you? Oh, I would have bought it for that. I would have paid $5,000 more. You're dumb. What does this person now think? Oh, I made a mistake. Call them the next morning, make them feel good about what they're doing. Just go back through this stuff. Hey, I just wanted to know, I got home last night, I put everything in the computer. I just want to let you know, like, you made a really good deal. I actually got probably the short end of the stick on this one. I'm gonna make sure you're all taken care of though. I talked to my team, they're all set, we're on track. Reassure them, make them feel good. That will save a lot of your deals. That goes for whether you're doing wholesale or whether you're doing subject to. Until you actually close it, talk to people. Last piece I'll share with you, anyone in here interested in multifamily? Few people, okay, cool. When I say multifamily, I'm talking like eight units and up. So I'm gonna talk to you about brokers. This is where we actually do use brokers. The key to finding great multifamily, we generate a lot of off-market leads. I'm gonna share with you 2 ways that you can do this. You can actually wholesale multifamily and make some really good paydays if you're willing to do the research. So the first thing is you're going to call brokers. If you look at LoopNet, Crexy, any of the sites that are out there that list big multifamily, we joke when we say that's where multifamily goes to die. If it has made it to a public listing, it has gone through at least 20 people looking at the deal before it's got on the internet. Has anyone ever seen a cap rate that makes no sense? I have a slide for it. Does everybody know what cap rate is? Oh, man.
Cover it, just in case.
It's capitalization rate. It's basically how good the property is. The higher the cap rate, the better the return. So you're looking for like 7 to 9 cap is considered a very good return. Sometimes you'll see listings on there. We saw one that was a 358 cap. Like, it made no sense. It's because the broker doesn't know what they're doing when they put in the numbers. Anyway, you want to call the broker on a property that is listed. And then you want to say the magic words of, hey, Joe, I really like 123 Main Street. I know it's a 20-unit building. I'm actually looking for something in that area, but I need a little bit better cap rate. I would love a good off-market deal. So the brokers all have 3 lists. They have their email list, they have their text list, and they have their call list. At HomeInvest, we've worked very hard to be on their call list in the areas that we work. So our main investment is Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, and Fort Wayne. Kentucky and Indiana. Cincinnati is Ohio. We've worked very hard to be on the call list. When they get a listing, when they get somebody who raises their hand and says, I want to sell XYZ, they're going to have 1 or 2 people that they're going to call. We worked really hard to be on the call list. After they've called the people, if there's still no interest and there's still no LOIs out, then they move on to their text list. They'll text 50 people maybe. Then they move to their email list. If they still don't have anything there, then they're going to put it online and it's going to sit there. That's kind of the progression when it comes to multifamily. Does that make sense to everyone? So how do you get to the call list? So when you call them, you're going to say, hey, I'm looking, I see this online, but what I really want is this. By the way, I have proof of funds. By the way, I'm working with somebody who has 2,500, 3,000 doors. I'm not telling you to lie. I'm going to tell you how to do this. Has anyone in here ever done fundraising or worked with anyone to buy multifamily? Okay, good. We work with people all the time. If you bring us a deal, we're going to cut you into the GP. Does everybody understand what GP is? GP, LP? Cool, I see some people shaking their head yes and no. I'll explain very quickly. GP is the management side of a multifamily. You basically get the sweat equity. LPs are the people who bring the money, right? You bring the money, we pay a good return. That's how a multifamily deal works. So if we just finished a raise for 5.2 million. We actually finished it on Friday. So we raised 5.2 million. That means investors brought us that money. They are going to get an 18% return. We're going to give them a really solid return. They don't have any management. We have the management. We manage the property from start to finish. The GP is where you want to be because you don't have to put any money in. The way that you can get there is to find one of these deals. So if you find us a deal and you come to us and say, hey, this is an off-market deal, it looks really good. We're gonna put you in the GP. That's how you partner with people. Find people like me, you build a relationship, you find a deal, we put you in. When you talk to the brokers are going to ask you a lot of questions when they start their vetting you. It's going to be nerve-wracking the first couple times you go through it. Record yourself and get better. Find answers to their questions and then tell them the answers before they ask. This is kind of complex. I know a lot of hands went up for multifamily. Just start doing it. If you start having the conversations now, what's the worst that's going to happen to a broker from a broker? They're not going to be mean to you. They might be short with you. They might get off the phone. You'll find another one. Multifamily is the long game. I think most people want to get there. The other thing that you can do, go online, research multifamily properties. There's actually a few here in Reno that are older multifamily properties. We call them C-grade multifamily. Research the owners and send them letters, not yellow letters. Actually send them a letter. Build a relationship. We closed it in the end of June, but it was a deal that we have been working on since 2017. It was a 49 unit, all 2-bed, 2-bath, brick buildings. It was owned by a couple and they could not decide if they wanted to sell it. They kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We ended up getting that. That was an 8 cap. And we're paying out right now, we're paying 22% on that to our investors. It was a home run deal and there was nobody involved with it. It was just direct to sell. So those are the 2 secrets that I have for off-market leads when it comes to multifamily.
I got a question.
Yeah,
How is an 8 cap a home run deal?
on multifamily,
Yeah,
a solid brick building with no
like
maintenance.
for us, a lot of times ours are like
What's
10 to 20.
wow? As a single family.
No, it's multi,
As a multi.
office space, like all that.
Okay, so
Like eight if you're financing part of it, or
no, that was owner financed.
you're using all your, are you using your general partner's money or your?
So we
your LP
raised,
money for that?
we raised for that, but we got an owner finance at 3.5%.
Okay,
Um,
and then you're still paying like an 18% return?
that one we're
For
at
the
22%,
Okay,
22% to the LPs.
What about sign up?
I will send you all of our deals. So that one's very strong. Like you look at a
are your
property,
expenses super low?
they're
It's
not
kind of hard
bad.
to understand it without throwing some numbers out.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, you know, it's like this property was this number, this is our return, this is what we pay these guys, this is what our money is. That's
Sure.
what's hard for the people, because you're throwing out letters that a lot
It's
of
big
people
numbers,
don't
I
even
know.
get. And so it's like,
No, the numbers aren't a problem.
well, not for you, because you're in the thing, but you know, it's hard for
Yeah, I got
to understand where our profit might be in this scenario that you're
Sure.
laying out.
But I mean,
So if you can give a small scenario, say you bought this thing for 2 million. And then throw the rest of that
Yep.
stuff in, so they can see, I pay my guys at a 22%. We break them off at $5,000 a month and we keep it, something like that.
No, mine is that you're paying 25% interest and getting like an 8% return. Like between the 3% to the owner carry and the 22%
Yep.
to investors with a cap rate at 8%.
The cap rate was what we bought it at. We considered it an 8 cap. And to be very clear, I am not in underwriting.
Okay,
My job is to go do fundraising.
but you see where
Yeah,
my math
yeah.
problem is, I'm like 17% off, like
I'm happy to sit down with you and go through.
no worries, like I'm just listening.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I know you're asking a very reasonable question. Like, if you look at. The things that come across my desk are like A-class properties, you're gonna see like very low cap rates, right? Like 4 or 5. We see
Are you doing your basis on like an ARV or on acquisition?
acquisition.
Okay,
So that's probably where the difference is. Because if we're acquiring and then so a lot of the stuff, that 49 unit I was just talking about, we were about 20% under market rent because they hadn't raised the rents. So we could go in and immediately bump rents. We don't. We do them as leases expire, right? But that's gonna raise the cap rate, which is where we're getting the good returns. Yeah. All right, I was gonna open it up for questions. We started.
Sorry.
It's all good. Anyone else?
How often do you mail, like, what's the mailing intervals for a multifamily building, long-term relationship?
I would say somewhere between once a quarter, maybe a little bit more frequent than that. So we usually start with, we actually start with a handwritten letter. And Nate will put like, hey, we're HomeInvest, this is what we've done in the past. We usually include a flyer on our nonprofit as well, so that people get to know us a little bit. And Nate always says, hey, I'm happy to, like, I'll be out there end of March, whatever, right? Like in a couple months, if you want to go to dinner, there's no pressure to sell, but when the time's right, we would like to be that person. And we just build a really soft relationship with them. And we have found that we get pretty good response to that. Last year, we closed 11 properties. This year, we've already done 9. And almost all of them have come from that. I would say 2/3 have come from mailing and building relationships. We have found that playing the long game works a whole lot better than playing the short game.
So can you break down one of these scenarios for us? It's like kind of way the money breaks down, because one of the things, I understand percentages, but if I buy it for 3 million, I pull you on your end, you do the fundraising, so you bring up the 3 million.
So
You've got your investors, so how does that money transit? How much do you guys keep? How much do you
Sure.
pay back?
So the deal for us, we always do a 70-30 split for the GP LP. So that means that we're keeping 30% and we give 70% to our investors. We do not guarantee return. You can't guarantee a return anywhere, right? We usually pay anywhere between a 4%, 6%, or 8% pref to our investors. A preferred rate of return means if you come in for $100,000, we are going to pay you first. We pay the building expenses, then we pay the preferred, then we split the rest 70-30. We pay out every quarter. And we do what's called return of capital, which means there's no tax on it. Because we're returning part of your $100,000, there's no tax. We plan on a 5-year hold on all of our properties. We won't underwrite any shorter than 5 years. Right now, we've got the next one up is looking like it's going to be 6. We'll see though, because the interest rate is changing that. So in that 5-year period, you're going to receive 5 times 4 quarters, right? You're going to receive 20 payments of your pref plus the 70-30 split. That paid out. And then at the very end, when we sell it, we're going to split it 70-30. 70 to you, 30 to us. We underwrite we try to aim for an 18% internal rate of return, which is your amortized yearly rate. And then we always aim for a 2.0 multiple. So $100,000 in, $200,000 total out. Your 100 back plus 100 in profit.
Yeah, I don't put money in without getting 50% return. I want all my money plus my.
Yep. The other
Stress.
thing that you can do very well with this, does anyone in here know what a cost seg study is? We're kind of off the rails a little bit. We won't do anything that we get less than 40% back on taxes when we pass that along to investors. If that all confuses you, I feel like I'm off the rails from off-market leads, but I'm happy to talk about it.
But this is off-market leads. You get an off-market lead from a wholesale or a seller.
Yep.
Right? There's a lot of people out there who are in these weird situations.
Always.
That's under market and they don't know the market. They might have interest. Yeah, exactly. They have no interest in looking. I just, like your guy, I just need this amount of money.
Yep.
I don't care what you do. Can you get me this amount of money?
Yep.
So, you buy it for, let's say 500,000, right? Now, all of a sudden you have a 500,000 note, nice house. Now you're gonna rent it or you're gonna sell it. You're gonna rent it, well, that's 10%. So you're looking at $50,000 a year return. Or thereabouts. So this area right now is about 6 or 7%. Right? So then you carry that and then just how to break down that amount of money to your investors yourself. You do yours every quarter.
Yep.
So you can throw out a nice chunk at a time, because you have,
Well, we have the cash flow coming in on the building.
yeah,
And then we have, as we're raising rents, like that's going to go up. That's where the money comes from. And then the appreciation is all at the end. So the exit multiple, if you're ever looking at a deal, the exit multiple is going to be based on how many years the property's held. 18% return, 18% return times 5 is how we get to the 2x multiple. Any questions on off market or anything? I'm happy to.
Are you managing you have a management team?
Yeah, we're vertically integrated. So we have boots on the ground. We own the management at the apartments that we own. And then we also have regional managers for it as well. Our team is about 30 people. 20, I would say 22 of those are US based. There's 3 of us that are in the C-suite, and then we have some people that are overseas. Good question.
And looking for single family, I would imagine multifamily skip tracing the owner is gonna be a bit more nuanced. How do you find those?
It is PropStream.
And just PropStream?
We use PropStream, and then we will hire skip trace. It is, and you're not going to find, you will not find nearly as much information as a single family. But we still work pretty hard at it because we know that building that relationship makes for a great deal.
I mean, if you're just sending them handwritten letters.
Well, we start with a
you know,
handwritten letter.
Going to the right place to build that relationship.
You don't.
Just going to, box somewhere,
So
some registered agent, some.
there, I'll go back to, go the wrong way. If I find Kate. Hang on one second, I'm gonna go back. So Kate, Kate runs everything. I don't know if you guys ever know anybody that does all the stuff. This is Kate. Kate does everything. So she's the one who sends the letters. And she'll send them out. She tries to send out a couple a month. Just through finding it. If we get them returned, we know not to send them again. We've developed enough. Last year, I'd say 6, maybe 7 of our deals came from that. Just finding people. So the one that we just closed last month actually came from that as well. It's so it's in Georgetown, Kentucky. It's 70 units, all one bed, 1 bath. In a place where, so if you guys know Lexington, it has a circle around it and you can't build outside of it because that's where all the horse farms are. We're literally right up at the north edge of it, right against the ring. The people who own it, it's a couple, they've owned it for 26 years.
It's a couple that's owned it for 26 years. It's not some.
Exactly.
LLC, partnership, whatever.
Correct. That's the
Registered
difference.
agent in Wyoming.
You're exactly right. That's where I was going with this. It's a couple that has owned it. They don't own any other real estate. They bought it when he got an early retirement and he bought it and they lived there. They knew most of the people. They haven't raised the rents since 2017.
makes it hard when you live there.
Exactly. They moved out last year and they were on the fence about selling it. We had reached out to them with a letter 3 years ago. So I know it's like, you're correct. We're looking for a needle in a haystack, but what's the cost of a stamp? It's some time. Like, it's not gonna hurt you to do it. I understand it's a long shot. But that's the difference. I would say, like, we find a lot of smaller multifamily doing this. We don't always mean to, but we find a lot of like 8 to 20 unit properties, which we're not interested in.
I'll take them.
There you go. Something I meant to bring, I have a hat that says I'm an investor, just says I'm an investor in real big print. I was playing poker at a pepper mill 2 years ago, and I sat next to a lady who gave me an 8-pack. She was like, I've been thinking about selling these, we wholesale. Wearing that hat, I've struck up conversations in grocery stores. I've had people come up to me walking, just like, hey, I have blah, blah, blah. Get a hat that says I'm an investor. For $20, like, you'll have people come talk to you. I mean, you guys, how many people come talk to you because they know you're investors or they know that you're a lender, right? I would think a lot.
Yeah, oh, it's network is the whole thing.
I mean, that's how I got here. I came 2 months ago because I just like meeting people. So it is a different frame. Are you looking for multi or do you want to stay in single?
Well, I'd be interested in, I mean, I think we're smaller multifamily right now, I'm just kind of a single. Kind of focused on single family, but
Yeah,
duplex, fourplex, and now 816 doesn't sound so bad, but
it's,
yeah, I don't think I want 49, 50, 250 units.
I would say 50 is where I started to get like queasy. The difference between managing 8 and managing 50 is not as hard as you think. The profit is a lot better. You usually have to do fundraising when you get in there. Anyone else?
Do you do stuff besides multifamily? I mean, do you do other commercial?
No, not anymore. So what happened, we started teaching a longer version of this just for wholesale, and we've had more than 1,000 students go through it. A lot of success. We started selling it during COVID. We made the decision in January because Nate and I were spending 70 to 80% of our time coaching people instead of actually doing the multifamily, and the multifamily is way more profitable. So we shut coaching down and we shut down wholesale. We went back and forth on wholesale, but Kate was running most of our wholesale stuff. And she's a great acquisitionist. She's the one reaching out, building relationships with people. So we made the decision to shut all of that down. We did turnkey rentals for a while. We were the largest provider to Roofstock, and then we sold that actually in 2019 to Roofstock.
Are you into Lido at all?
That's a good question. So my mom lives in Findlay.
What was your question?
If we're in Toledo, we are not. We ended up in Cincinnati we actually own a machine shop in Cincinnati, which is a total offshoot. We ended up buying a machine shop that had a 4-unit apartment building on it, and it did really, really well. So we started buying other machine shops. We got approached by private equity. So that's how we ended up in Ohio. Otherwise we wouldn't be there.
Okay.
Well,
I'm from Ohio and I'm going back next month to see family. And the numbers make more sense there from what I've seen, and so that's where I'm thinking when I start investing, I'll go back there. And buy some like fourplexes and duplexes.
So I'm going to touch on that just for a second. When I started, I actually started in Mount Vernon, Ohio. That 8-unit that I had on the screen was in Mount Vernon, Ohio. I went to Mount Vernon Nazarene College. The mistake that I made was that I drove a circle that was 30 miles around Mount Vernon. And I was like, that's where I can invest. Does anyone in here own any investments that are out of state? Awesome. Because
California.
that's okay. California scares me.
It scares me too, we want out of there, but we've got renters that are in there that have been there for a while, so we don't want to kick them out.
No, don't get hit with the fine, right?
I know.
Let them move and then sell. The reason that I say that, if I could go back in time and give myself advice, it would have been, you can invest anywhere. We teach people, pick the best place to invest. You guys can do wholesale. Kate does wholesale. Kate lives outside of Detroit. She lives in Auburn Hills. She does wholesale in Florida. In like Florida, Kentucky, Minneapolis. We're active in about 5 markets when we did wholesale. She never sets foot in any of the properties. She literally does it from behind a desk. You can wholesale, especially, you can do anywhere. Alex, do you even look at half the places that you wholesale physically?
I don't, but
Somebody does.
We kind of do it the opposite of that, where we take them in person if we can.
I think that's smart. If you go meet people, it's good.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to both most.
The world is your oyster. Like, you can go anywhere with real estate. So the things that we look for rent to income ratio. We look for job growth. We look for it to be a landlord friendly state, because we would hold some of them. If I could give myself one piece of advice in 2001 or 2002, it would be invest somewhere other. Like, find the best place to invest. You don't have to invest in Reno because you live in Reno. You got a lot of space. I wouldn't go to California, but that's personal.
We don't want to invest in California either, we're just stuck with those two.
Yeah. We've found the Midwest is really good. Texas just got slammed, so I wouldn't own anything in Texas right now. Not to say that you can't. Austin's going to have some good opportunity, I think. Midwest, Iowa works well, anywhere out there. We've done Kentucky, actually, we started in Kentucky 2 years ago and just got named by apartments.com as the best place to invest.
Right. So
Because
how do you find good people to manage them since they're out of state?
that is a great question. So there's 2 or 3 things that you can do. The short story is that we headhunt. We will pay top dollar for somebody who has a proven track record. So we just go around. If you're looking for single family property managers, so we always it is better to pay the best rate and have the best person than to try to nickel and dime. So usually if you find a good property manager too, they have all the other boots on the ground. We have a training called the 7 boots on the ground. They're going to know the best insurance people. They're going to know the best contractors. Do you guys want a contractor, Chuck? This is kind of a fun one. Who in here has hired a bad contractor? Anyone? Everyone, right? So if you find the people that do restoration work for ServPro, everybody know what ServPro is? So ServPro is nothing more than a lead generator that then passes the lead off to locals. So go on Yellow Pages, find somebody who does fire, flood, or mold restoration work. They will usually be the person that ServPro goes to. They will get paid usually 30-day net. So that means they will do the work first, because what's the problem with contractors? They show up, they say, hey, I need $4 grand for the parts. You give them the $4 grand, then they come back and they say, hey, I need $2 more grand, and I haven't bought your stuff yet. It'll be done by Friday. Friday comes, they've maybe started, right? So how do you find a good contractor? Find the people that contract for ServPro. We've had really good luck with that. They usually will get the job done ahead of time, and they get paid 30-day net. You will pay a little bit more. You pay about a 10% premium, but we found that not having the headaches is worth it. All right, cool. Anyone?
Sure. I could ask questions all night.
That's okay.
How did you raise capital when you started? First deal you
When I was in college, so let me put that picture of the building back up. This is actually super fun. Has anyone in here ever been told that they can't do something?
Yes.
Okay, so this is actually a great story since I have a second. Okay, so Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I promise this links to how I did fundraising. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I gave it to my favorite college professor. His name was Ron Wright. Still a professor at the school. I gave Ron the book. He sat me down at the lunch table. I gave goosebumps telling the story. He set the book across the table and said, Steve, I gotta tell you, nobody's making any money except the guy who wrote that book. Don't waste your life on a get rich quick scheme. And I was like, oh my goodness, this guy was like my idol in college. He was my favorite professor by far. We had a lot of good conversations. And he was like, if it was easy, he's like, if it was possible, people would be doing it. I'm like, all right. I gave the book to my mom. My mom called me in tears. She said, hey, there's news, there's Fox News, somebody got sued, they're going to jail for real estate. Well, my mom's a mess from that. My mom's not a mess at all, but she's very conservative. I went and did it anyway. So I went out, talked to Bob, ended up with this building. So what Bob did was he said, hey, you need 20 grand down. I literally had like maybe $800 in my bank account. I still don't have a job. I made money cleaning. This is actually, this is a picture of me in the ceramic lab. I made ceramics. I made coffee mugs. How many coffee mugs can you sell? Right? I was cleaning houses and selling coffee mugs at art fairs. So what I did was I had no idea how to do a pro forma. This is going to be the best story to you guys. So talking about money, I had no idea. I knew what the rents were. We paid $360 for the 2 beds that were upstairs. I thought I could raise the rents to $300. So I literally put this on a spreadsheet and went down and made copies on the copy machine in the art department. I had a picture, I had not this picture, but a picture very similar to this, and a pro forma that showed, I didn't know what a pro forma was. It was literally like adding the boxes up, there's going to be this much cash flow. I didn't know anything about vacancy. I didn't know anything about any of it. Bob, to his credit, being a good guy, was like, hey, I'm making sure that it is set up so that you won't have any problems, because if you have to hand me the building back, I'm gonna be upset. He's like, but you've met with, I think we met for 6 or 7 breakfasts. He was like, I wanna make sure that you're set up. I took that one piece of paper and I went around and I talked to college professors, all of them. I had one college professor give me $5,000. I had a couple of them give me $2 or $3,000. And then I had one professor that wrote me a check for $10,000 that actually brought my total raise to about 23K. This is where it gets really funny. There was 0 paperwork. Like 0. It was a handshake deal. I would not recommend any of that, but they knew me. They knew that I was a hustler and they knew that I would make it happen.
And what are they getting for their investment in equity or interest or?
Back then, I was like, I'll give you 5%. That was it. It wasn't even like 5, it was 5% at the end when I sold it. I did pay some of them back. I gave some of them some money in the middle, because we were doing really well. It was not how I'd recommend raising. How I raise now. Anyone in here have a 401k or an IRA? Cool. Did you know that you can self-direct that and invest that in real estate?
Can you invest in your own real estate?
No. So, but this is how I fundraise, right? Well, kind of. You can buy single family out of it. I should be careful what I say. I am not a tax professional. I'm not. But the way that I do fundraising now is I will go talk to people. This is what I was doing in Salt Lake City. So, hey, you have $300,000. What are you invested in right now? You're probably in stocks. I can show you how you can move that money and invest in real estate. The normal curve, you start investing when you're 35, you might be able to retire when you're 65. Doing it in real estate is going to cut that in half. So we have some slides that go through that. I stand up, I sit down, I walk people through what the investment looks like, what it's backed by, and then I show them it costs $200 to set up a self-directed, and you come in. If you sit down and you have those coffee conversations with people, people are interested. Because most people have read Rich Dad Poor Dad. They understand that they should be in real estate, but they have no idea how to do it. Fundraising is much easier than I thought it would be. When I started, I was like, man, this is going to be difficult. It's not that bad. When I did it in college, I did a lot of, out of the 53 deals that I did, I think I raised 4 times. I also did a lot of subject to and owner financed. Anyone else? I can stay up here all night.
I flip a multifamily over a 5-year term. So cost segregation must be the big difference for you to capture that value in short.
So, okay, we don't do a lot. We buy C-class properties, primarily C-class, which means working, safe area, 15 to 20 years old. Maintenance is good. We love brick buildings. We try to buy big brick buildings whenever we can. The stuff that we do to fix them up are usually countertops, sometimes appliances, sometimes bathrooms. Depends. But it's like lipstick light rehab, right? We're not doing heavy rehab. And we do it so we will turn when people move out of the units. So this place that we just bought that's all 1 bed and is massively under market. We're going to raise rents on, I think, 20% of the building to get them moving. And then we're guessing they're all going to move out. Maybe they won't because they like the area, but it's going to be, we're going to go in. That place doesn't need much. We're doing countertops, we're doing fixtures, no bathrooms, countertops, fixtures, and appliances. So quick fix ups, nothing too difficult. The cost seg study, to your point. So we'll go in, we got the prelim study done before we bought it. We were told to expect 45% back. I know that there's a lot of spaghetti to answer your question.
Yeah, well, maybe I need to do my own research on cost segregation.
So we
forgot most of it.
Okay, so does anyone not know what cost segregation is? So cost segregation is a third party that comes in and looks at your building and tells you what you can write off in taxes. The Trump era tax laws say that we can take accelerated depreciation, which means that we can take massive depreciation for the next 4 years right now. So by putting all of that in here, when we raise for a property, so we're holding the property that we just bought for 5 years, we are able to pass the tax savings on to our people that are investing. Now, if they're investing out of an IRA or 401k, it doesn't matter. They're already tax advantaged. But if they're investing in cash, they can take that money. If they are a real estate professional, they can take that money against their active income. If they're not a real estate professional, they have to take it against their passive. But that can still be a pretty large offset. Reps is an interesting thing to talk about. I see you nodding. Who in here is a real estate professional? Awesome. Who in here doesn't know what that means? Okay, so a real estate professional does not mean that you're a realtor. It means that you aim to, this is the important part of the law, that you aim to make your money from real estate endeavors. It allows you to take maximum tax benefit from a cost segregation standpoint. The general rule of thumb, it's self-identified, so you're checking a box on your tax return. It says that you are a real estate professional. You need to have 750 hours. And the tax person that we use somebody called Robert Hall. He's out of LA, tax professional for real estate people only, said that you have 3 years to make it your largest source of income. Some CPAs will say that you need to have it that year. The benefit to that is if you work a W-2 and you start investing in real estate, you can take active losses against your W-2 income. That's what we did with Matt. I think a gentleman that had a $160,000 tax bill. Cool. What do you guys think? Anyone else got anything? I'll be here. Come talk to me. I'm happy to chat with you. My whole goal is to inspire you guys to real estate where I can and help you guys out. If you want to talk about anything that we have.